Imagine you are the head of a multi-billion-dollar international syndicate. You don't use WhatsApp. You don't use Apple. You need a ghost phone. You pay $2,000 for a heavily encrypted device. For years, you use it to move tons of illicit cargo, eliminate your rivals, and build an empire. You feel absolutely untouchable until you realize the terrifying truth. The tech company that built your phone, the engineer who wrote the code, and the customer service team answering your complaints, they were all the FBI. If you are a global crime syndicate moving tons of narcotics, a regular smartphone is a death sentence. One standard cellular ping, one WhatsApp message, and you are in federal prison. For years, the criminal elite used customized, hyper-secure devices called ghost phones. These were phones with the camera physically removed. No GPS, no microphone, no web browser, just a heavily encrypted messaging app. Companies like Phantom Secure and EncroChat provided these digital fortresses, charging thousands of dollars for a single device. For international law enforcement, it was a frustrating game of whack-a-mole. The FBI would spend years taking down one encrypted network, only for the cartels to instantly migrate to a new one. In March 2018, the FBI scored a massive victory. They dismantled Phantom Secure. The CEO was arrested, and the network went dark. Suddenly, thousands of the world's most dangerous criminals were left in a panic. They were disconnected. They needed a new secure network, and they needed it fast. This is where a traditional police operation usually ends. But deep inside the FBI and the Australian Federal Police, a terrifyingly brilliant idea was born. An operation so unorthodox, it sounded like a Hollywood script. They realized that taking down Phantom Secure had created a massive vacuum in the criminal market. The agents asked a crazy question. Instead of spending years trying to hack the next encrypted app, what if we just build it ourselves? They didn't just want to plant a bug in a phone. They wanted to own the entire telecom company. But here is the million-dollar question. How do you sell a fake wiretapped phone to a paranoid, bloodthirsty drug lord? You can't run a Google ad. You can't put it on Amazon. If the police push it, the cartels will instantly know it's a trap. The FBI needed an influencer, but not a TikToker. They needed a cartel influencer. They found their Trojan horse in a high-level distributor who used to sell the old, dismantled ghost phones. A man deeply trusted by the syndicates. The FBI offered him a simple choice. Spend the rest of your life in a federal supermax prison, or sell our new phone to your old bosses. He chose the phone. He took 50 ANOM devices and handed them directly to the top tier of the Australian and European underworld. His pitch was brilliant. "This is the new Phantom. It's unbreakable. The servers are off the grid. Nobody can read this." And the terrifying part, the criminals believed him. ANOM became an exclusive status symbol. You couldn't just buy one. You had to be vouched for by another criminal. If you had an ANOM phone, you were a top-tier boss. Demand skyrocketed. The price hit $2,000 per device, plus a 6-month subscription. The cartels were literally paying the FBI millions of dollars to wiretap themselves. They felt so secure, they stopped speaking in code. They sent high-resolution pictures of cocaine hidden in fruit shipments. They sent GPS coordinates of smuggling boats. They negotiated prices for assassinations like they were ordering a pizza. And where were these unbreakable messages going? Every single text, every single photo was being silently BCC'd to an unblinking digital eye. A server room managed by the FBI. They were operating in God mode. By 2019, the operation, codenamed Trojan Shield, was completely out of control. In a good way, and a terrifying way. What started with 50 phones in Australia exploded into 12,000 devices spread across 100 countries. The Italian Mafia, Asian triads, South American cartels, and European biker gangs were all holding a direct line to the FBI. The servers in a secret location in a third country were receiving up to 20 million messages. Every second, a new crime was being meticulously planned on a police-owned server. But here is where the story takes a very dark, very dangerous turn. If you are the FBI and you are reading a live text message from a cartel hitman coordinating an assassination that is going to happen in 2 hours, what do? If you arrest the hitman, the cartel instantly realizes the phone is compromised. The entire network, the whole multi-million-dollar operation, collapses. The biggest intelligence gold mine in history vanishes in a second. But if you do nothing, an innocent person dies, and their blood is technically on your hands because you provided the communication network. The FBI had created a monster. They were drowning in data. They had to watch in agonizing silence as tons of cocaine entered ports in Belgium and Rotterdam. They had to watch assassinations being ordered. They were playing God, but their hands were tied. The pressure was mounting. The servers were overflowing, and the legal authority to keep listening was about to expire. They couldn't keep this secret forever. They needed an exit strategy, a way to pull the plug on 300 syndicates simultaneously. But the real question is, how do you arrest 800 of the world's most violent criminals on the exact same day? before a single one of them realizes their phone is a trap. To arrest 800 of the most paranoid, heavily armed men on Earth at the exact same time, you can't just rely on SWAT teams. If one door gets kicked in early, one WhatsApp message goes out, and the rest of the network vanishes into the wind. You need to paralyze them first. June 7th, 2021. The operation is greenlit. 9,000 heavily armed police officers across 16 different countries are sitting in the back of armored vans, waiting in the dead of night, watching the clock. But they don't move yet. First, the FBI executes the most ruthless digital strike in history. Sitting in a glowing server room, an agent hits a kill switch. In an instant, every single ANOM phone on the planet goes dead. The screens turn black, the servers are wiped, the entire digital nervous system of the global underworld is instantly paralyzed. They couldn't warn each other if they tried. They were deaf, blind, and completely trapped. And then, the doors exploded. From Sydney to Frankfurt, from Amsterdam to Bogota, over 700 locations were raided in a synchronized global blitzkrieg. It was a massacre of the underworld. When the smoke cleared, the numbers were hard to comprehend. 800 high-level cartel bosses and hitmen arrested. 32 tons of narcotics seized. 250 massive firearms. Over $48 million in raw cash and crypto confiscated in a single day. And remember that moral dilemma, the ticking time bomb of assassinations. Because the FBI was reading the messages in real time, they secretly orchestrated fake traffic stops and anonymous tips to save over 100 innocent lives from active hit lists without ever blowing their cover. But the real shock wasn't the drugs or the money. It was the sight of the world's most terrifying crime lords sitting in handcuffs, staring at their dead ANOM devices, slowly realizing the phone they paid $2,000 for, the device they trusted with their deepest, darkest secrets, was wearing a federal badge the whole time. Operation Trojan Shield didn't just put 800 crime lords behind bars. It did something much more permanent. It destroyed the underworld's trust in technology forever. Today, the surviving cartels are terrified of smartphones. They are going back to analog. Burner phones, handwritten notes, and face-to-face meetings in the dark. But before we end, let's rewind for a second. Back to October 2018. The very first week the ANOM app was launched. Somewhere in the world, a high-level drug trafficker turns on his brand-new $2,000 untraceable phone. He types the very first message on the network to test it out. Is this line secure? He hit send. Thousands of miles away, sitting in a glowing, air-conditioned server room, a young FBI agent sees the message pop up on his monitor. He takes a sip of his coffee, smiles, and whispers to himself, loud and clear. The greatest criminal empires in history were brought down not by bullets, but by their blind faith in a screen. They paid thousands of dollars to carry a federal wiretap in their pockets. They thought they were untouchable because a piece of software told them they were secure. Which brings us to you. You are watching this video on a device right now. You use free messaging apps every single day. You give them access to your microphone, your camera, your location, and your deepest secrets. If the most paranoid, well-funded, ruthless criminals on the planet were completely fooled by an app, what makes you think the apps on your phone are really working for you?